Welcome to another Leumi Financial Corner. I'm Zev Brenner along with Michael Zaremski, head of U.S. Private Banking, Bank Leumi USA, member of the Investment Committee for Leumi Investment Services. Michael, good to speak with you again. How are you doing?
Always a pleasure, Zev. Good to talk to you.
Thank you. We live in crazy times. There's chaos. There's lots of politics. Yet the markets, as we've discussed in weeks past, seem to be relatively stable. Why do you suppose it is? Tell us about your perspectives about it.
Well, Zev, I think it's clear that we definitely live in some interesting times right now. We're going into the heart of kind of the political season with the election. We're in the end of summer. It seems like a lot of people are on vacation. And, markets are relatively stable. The S&P has been incredibly stable over the last few days. We've just crept up to a new high. And, with a little bit of a slowdown here, I've actually had a chance to catch up on some reading. And a couple of the things that I've been reading about are very interesting to me when I look back historically to try to find another time period that might reflect where we are today. And it's a little bit of a stretch in a sense, but I've just read a book recently called Nothing Like It in the World, which is about the building of the Transcontinental Railroad. And then there's another book that I'm finishing now called American Colossus. And American Colossus is about the great capitalists of the time frame from 1850 to 1900. And when you read these books and you look to try to juxtapose them onto where we are today in the world, it really touches on and reflects this big mega trend that we see in technological changes and how they drive markets. So first, I do want to say that these views and opinions are mine, not necessarily those of the bank. But as I look at the time period before from that 1850 to 1900, clearly the country was at a time of turmoil coming off the Civil War. And not that we're in a civil war right now, but clearly a lot of tumult and civil unrest. And while we have a major technological change happening right now in terms of telecommunications, the Internet, there was another major change that was going on in that time as well. And we don't think about the railroad today as being a major innovation or a major change, but the building of the railroad opened up the country in a way that we had never seen before. And frankly, it opened up the world in a way that we never saw before, because in laying down the railroad, they also laid down telegraph lines. And you could essentially communicate from England to San Francisco in a matter of minutes as opposed to months. You could take a train across the country in days as opposed to months. So there was a huge change that went on that really upset the apple cart. And when you think about the bold innovators of that day, people like Morgan, Vanderbilt, Rockefeller, Carnegie, Mellon, Leland Stanford on the West Coast, and if you think about what they did to take advantage and recognize changing technologies, changing opportunities and growth, and if you just change those names around and think about people like Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk or Larry Ellison, Sergey Brin, again, you see bold industrialists, bold innovators that are taking advantage of technological changes to create a new world. And as much as we believe that there is income inequality in today's world, the wealth of the great capitalists of the 1850s to 1900 era were actually far greater than what we're seeing in the world today. So I think that the key element that we're seeing is that there's a lot of change happening, there's a lot of opportunities happening, and while many people are concerned about, have we seen the end of it? Is this, are markets heavy or toppy? I think that we're continuing to move ahead into a stage where we're at a bold place where we could see massive technological changes going ahead.
And those technology changes, as you point out in previous broadcasts, is really what makes this whole thing different today to a certain degree, because we're more technology oriented and dependent than just in a simple store or business.
Exactly. And what I find really interesting, and I think we're all seeing it in our daily work lives, particularly as work from home has become such a bigger theme. Again, similar to that other era that I referenced, originally or recently technology was basically enabling us to do the same thing quicker. And now technology and the work from home environment and a lot of other things, it's really forcing us to change the way we do things, and we're rethinking processes. So again, it's not just a question of doing something faster, doing something on an Excel spreadsheet instead of by hand. I think we're now at a point where we're starting to use technology to break down systems, break down processes, and really rethink the way that we do everything. So it's not just going to be a question of speed and improving what we're doing. It's a question of rethinking the way that we do everything reimagining the way that we conduct business, the way that we interact, the way that we create product, deliver services. And I think that that's really what we're going to see in kind of the next wave of growth and opportunity.
So really what you're saying in conclusion is that, yes, there are precedents, but also the markets may know something that we don't know just by looking at the pandemic and looking at the confusion and all the things that are happening in society today.
I think that's well said, Zevin. I think that the markets are continuing to price in innovation, continuing to price in creativity, and continuing to look for new ways and new opportunities where companies can continue to generate profit and return for shareholders and stakeholders.
Michael Zaremski, head of U.S. Private Banking, Bank Leumi USA, member of the Investment Committee for Leumi Investment Services. Thank you for being here with us.
Always a pleasure, Zev. Thank you very much.
And we're going to be right back. Don't go away. Stay tuned.